What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso, joined as always by Connor Rogers. Post-game therapy, a little bit of a different tenor than last week as the Jets lose 30-10 to the Buffalo Bills in a game that wasn't even as close as the score indicated.
No.
It was a shitfest out there today, and we're going to get into it. Connor, how you doing? How you feeling?
All right. I mean, yeah, this was one of those where it was over pretty early and you kind of felt it and knew it. And, I think what's always tough with these is the most evil thing the Jets can do sometimes is get you to buy back in.
Yep.
And give you a little hope and interest. And you're not, it's like if it was a first date that you enjoyed. On the second date, you're not expecting to get married. You're just expecting it to be a nice conversation and a drink. And instead, the Jets just turn it into like an all-time disaster class. Listen, you and I were talking off the air that there's a larger combo here, that there's a good chance that the reality is, that the Bills are really, really good and that the Steelers aren't as good as everyone thought. Like you said that to me off air, and my response to you was, yeah, I picked the Steelers to win 8 games this year, and that wasn't received well when I did that. Me and Sims picked every team's, over under and everything, and that might just tell more about the Jets, right? Where, I remember you saying too, like there's a world where they beat the Steelers and then get blown out by Buffalo, and it kind of feels like we got pretty close to that, where they should have beat the Steelers. They did outplay them, and then they got blown out by Buffalo. I think tonight the most important things we could do is to kind of get into what actually bothers us from this game, and what is an aspect of, just being outclassed by a Super Bowl contender, because I think that's important to break down in these moments. And I think it's a game where you can distinguish the two. There were things in this game that were entirely unacceptable, even if it was the staff's second game. And then there are things in this game that, you're not even in that team's anywhere like stratosphere. So it's in the moment, though, it's always a tough one to unpack when you just get embarrassed like this, which it was embarrassing.
Yeah, it's a good point. I've been saying for 2 months that the Jets were going to win a close game week 1 and get destroyed in week 2. I shouldn't be surprised that they got destroyed in week 2, but when you see it actually happen, and you always I don't blame fans for limited attendance at these games, where when you see the stadium's mostly empty and it's mostly Bills fans, I never judge how fans decide to fan when the team has been bad for this long. Like, you want more Jet fans there, win more games. That's it. Buffalo's really good. The Jets are really bad. That's been the story for a while now. Of course, there's going to be a lot of Bills fans there. And of course, when you're down early, the building is going to be really quiet. And I think you made a really good point. There are certain things that happened today that the Jets are rushing Braden McGregor and Michael Clemens on third down. Like, they're not competing with Josh Allen. Like, they're just not. Right. They're not ready to do it yet. It's just not happening. That being said, we will always be very fair in both directions. We like the Aaron Glenn hire. We have talked about the things we like about Aaron Glenn a lot. What we want to see from a coaching staff and things that they've done that we've agreed with. There was a lot today that is the antithesis of all of that, and stuff that we've been consistently critical of other regimes for, that I just flatly hated to see. And now I will be more patient with a team and a regime in their second game than I will be with Robert Saleh in his third or fourth year. But it starts at the top, and this will drive me and you and all Jet fans insane. Michael Clemens shouldn't be on this team. And the fact that Michael Clemens got a roughing the passer penalty, that when the Jets could have got off the field on third down, I don't care if it was a flop. Know who you're playing. Be coached. Don't be stupid. Michael Clemens is a losing football player, and shame on the Jets for not adjusting that in the offseason. And sadly, they're probably going to keep playing him because they have no choice, because they have nobody at edge, especially if JJ's banged up. Tyler Barron can't play. Braden McGregor can't play. They didn't sign Clowney. They didn't sign Zadarius Smith. You're left with no options. But I know this, and I'm not saying that I'm smarter than Steve Wilkes or Aaron Glenn, or you're smarter than Steve Wilkes or Aaron Glenn. Xavier Gipson and Michael Clemens should not have been on this roster. And if they weren't, the Jets would be 1-1 and probably would have lost in a closer game today. And that's not a crazy leap to say that. That play happens early. Fields has a fumble right after. And it felt like at that point, the Jets went into classic Saleh era, even parts of the Bowles era. Woe is me, head down, quit mode. And the coach fed into that when you kick a 51-yard field goal on 4th and short. I don't care if it went in. It doesn't matter that the results played out, just like the 2-point play in week one. I don't care they didn't get it. It was the right call to be more aggressive. You are playing a Super Bowl favorite. You're going to win 5 or 6 games this year, according to Vegas. You have to play aggressive. And then the forfeit football in the second half, man, it felt like the halftime energy was, we don't have it today. Let's get the hell out of here as fast as we can. Let's run the clock, and we're punting down 20 on 4th and short. That's loser shit. And Aaron Glenn could talk tough all he wants and not be tough with the media and say, I got to look at the film. And that stuff plays if you're competitive and you win games and you show signs of the culture changing. And I know it takes time. I know how Dan Campbell started in Detroit. I know they were 1-7. I said this could be like the 2013 Jets. And what you have to remember is they won some games and then they would go lose by 40 to the Bengals. Like, there's an up and down variance because they lack talent. What I won't get over and what I will not stop from calling out is that type of mentality, the punting and giving up on the game, the bomb field goals that make no sense when you have a massive quarterback who you can and should tush push with or come up with some other short yardage package for. And just this stubbornness too, even on the defensive schematics, that we're going to just play this like one high man coverage against the MVP and just expect him not to carve us up. That's what's hard. The Jets losing by 20 to the Bills in a vacuum bluntly makes sense. It's just how it played out. And I really hope today is a teaching tape and a wake-up call to parts of this coaching staff that certain things like that they may have thought to be true and that they can get away with just aren't going to fly, especially when you're playing this caliber of team. And look, maybe internally they were feeling themselves too. They thought the Steelers are a 10 or 11 win team. Steelers are not. The Steelers are going to win 7 games this year if they're lucky. And the Jets allowed them to go up and down the field on them. Buffalo's going to win 13 or 14 games this year, and you saw the difference today. So tough to watch in the moment. Does it mean this regime is done or over? No. And I get everyone being upset and venting it out. That's what today's for. That's what tomorrow's for. But goddamn, I hate that passive forfeit football shit. It was hard to watch.
Yeah, better not be feeling yourself after you lost. I
mean,
but I know what you're saying. And we fed into it. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Like, we were having all the fun conversations of if Fields keeps playing like this and he's the guy, and and talk about. But you also have to be fair where all the positives don't wash away entirely.
Yep.
Just because it was a bad day. Now you need the bigger sample size, and how they respond in Tampa is going to mean a lot because now you have a road test against a good team, against a veteran coach that Jets fans know very well, but more importantly, a veteran core. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, obviously there's plenty of guys in that defense that are very hard to run against in Vita Vea. But we'll talk more about the game in the midweek, and I'll break down more details and schematics because much like Aaron Glenn, I'm going to watch the tape for our midweek show. I think that these shows are more intended to react in the moment from watching the broadcast or, you were at the game last week. I think things that bothered me today, you nailed it with Clemens. I on this microphone, I don't know what anyone wants me to say anymore, right? Like when it happened, I had people, my mentions were filled. And I get it, right? I really do. But what else am I even supposed to tweet? At some point, there's nothing left to say. I at the end of the day, as much as I am now on television, and I am very fortunate for the career I have, when it comes down to it, I am still just a fan outside the building. Like, this team doesn't give a shit what I have to say. And it's wrong. The way I'm going to say this, I don't want it to be picking on Arian Smith because Arian Smith's career, there is so much left to be seen. But you guys, it because you're in the group chat with me for Badlands. It bothers me when you watch Alec Io Manor catch a touchdown. You watch Torrey Horton catch a touchdown, which is a Seahawks team that absolutely pummeled the Steelers at the end of that game today. And Arian Smith, because he's so one-dimensional right now, gets a reverse that loses 12 yards. And he almost had a great catch, but he only got 1 foot in bounds. But that's all you see from him pretty much. And once again, this isn't me picking on Arian Smith. It's the fact that when you go by chalk, I'm not the only one that had Alec Io Manor and Torrey Horton ranked much higher than him. The consensus did. When you go against chalk, and now you look at the team and go, damn, besides Garrett Wilson, they don't have any receivers right now. And it's a massive problem because the Bills, credit to them, veteran staff, veteran team, that was without their best defensive player today in Ed Oliver and without maybe their second or third best defensive player today in Teron Johnson, their nickel corner. I didn't skip a beat because the Jets now are pretty easy to game plan against when you take away Garrett Wilson. And once again, I will watch the tape and I'll have more detail. Schematically on third down, they are lost. I don't need to. I will pull up all the coverage numbers and what they're doing and everything once again later on during the middle of the week. But it's 3rd and 10, and you never feel worse in your life about a team getting off the field. And this is the Steelers game when they didn't tackle anybody. This game, it just didn't matter. And you want my week 2 overreaction? The Sherwood contract looks like a disaster right now. He's been one of the worst players on the team through 2 weeks.
Like borderline unplayable.
Unplayable. They had him spy today on that third down. And for some reason, he commits down the field and Josh Allen just runs by for 40 yards. It's like, dude, your whole role is to make sure he doesn't leave the pocket. And you just gave him a freeway to leave the pocket. I don't know. It's, man, scary hours with that one right now. What we knew they'd be bad at safety. We knew they would be bad at wide receiver after Garrett Wilson. But, and Fields was late on a lot of throws today. It was a bad Fields.
You could kind of tell right away he didn't have it, which is always a bad sign.
Wide open.
That was the first drive. It was there. That would have been a 20, 30-yard gain. And when he sailed that, you're like, uh-oh. And it seemed like that was in his head the rest of the game, and he never got right.
And also, you could see that they're going to struggle to play from behind. Yes. They don't have the quarterback right now to be this drop back, get all these chunk plays. And it's not just Justin Fields. I want to be very fair because people are like, whoa, when you have Justin Fields, like you can't. No, he also has very little help in an air it out offense. That's why the Jets want to play like they did week 1, where they're balanced, and he's a big part of that. But when you just have to be one-dimensional and air it out, and when they really had to go into that mode, Bosa had the sack against the tight end. Like, it's just, honestly, I think they are just talent deficient in some key areas. And then the coaching right now, today, was not good enough to make up for that. And it's going to be an uphill battle for them to make up for that. I stand by this is a 7-win team. Like, I think they are going to have some really good moments. I think it's very evident what they need to improve on the roster. And the steps the coaching takes is a giant TBD. That's the thing of a new staff. Wilkes, I'll say with Wilkes, he doesn't really get that benefit of the doubt. Engstrand does. This is a big chair for him. Good week 1, bad week 2, whatever. Glenn, my biggest problem with Glenn right now has very little to do with on the field. My biggest problem with Glenn is he thinks by being so on the attack in these pressers that he's doing the right thing. And in my opinion, it's actually hurting the team. I said this on SMY postgame, but if people missed it, because the Mets had a walk-off, so I know we got moved from the channel to YouTube. Glenn, when Glenn goes, I'll watch the tape at 50 times in a row. What he doesn't realize is those reporters are just going to go bother the players with all those questions. So then if the players give a different answer or the players are being worn out by the same, if you're the coach and you stand up there and you take everything, and he's accountable. I'm not saying he's not accountable, but he's a bad press conference right now. Like, there's no way around it. And it's not a bad press conference where I'm a podcaster, I need to be entertained. It's, you kind of owe an answer here. Like, okay, maybe you need to watch the tape to diagnose what went wrong on a certain coverage. You don't need to watch the tape of, why certain guys just got their ass kicked out there or different looks like that. That's going to put more on your players. Then the players are going to be in longer media sessions because you gave the media nothing. He should know. He's played. These guys, no matter how you feel about the Jets beat, and I know some people just no matter what are like, well, the beat deserves everything they get, which is a very dumb take, by the way. And I'm not somebody that also thinks they need to bow down and give the beat everything on a platter. But if, like, little respect for the job, those guys have to have something at the end of this game. If Aaron Glenn says, I'll watch the tape 72 times in a row, what do you think they're going to do for their story? They're going to go to Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and Justin Fields and ask 75 more questions if they're allowed to, because they need something. So the PR staff needs to have a talk with Aaron Glenn that, hey, man, I get it. It's frustrating. You don't love the media. You're about ball. We get it. Well, we are rooting for you, Aaron Glenn. But I think this is one where he has kind of overthought how he's approaching this. You don't need to like kiss the hands of the media, but I think you tell me how you think of it, Joe. I'm watching it today and I'm like, you're going to lose games like this year one. You're not good enough. Sorry, but you're going to get the benefit of the doubt if you just kind of like chill out a little bit here.
Yeah, I think I'll chalk it up to being embarrassed and emotional after his first really bad moment as a head coach, right?
Yeah.
Preseason games don't count.
He was like this in the summer a little bit.
Yeah, he did. He had some signs of it where you can't act like this if you get your ass kicked at home like that. And you just have to know you're going to have to know there's going to be moments like that this year. The Ravens are probably going to kill the Jets this year. And the Jets are going to probably have a couple other games where they lose like this because they're just not good enough right now. Yeah. And we know that we didn't pick them to be in the playoffs. We thought they'd be feisty and punch above their weight and get better as the season went on. And they will have some moments like that. The world is not over after 2 games, but he came off bad in the post-game presser. You need to come out and be like, he said some things that were fine, but the overall, I'm too good for this conversation. I don't know you guys an answer. You owe everyone an answer when you play like that. When your quarterback has 8 yards passing going into the fourth quarter and the Bills are bluntly just laughing and punking you. Let's get Elijah Moore a touchdown. Let's let him do a backflip on you because we're playing the JV team. And what are they going to do about it?
That's shameful.
This dumb team that's still shrouding out Michael Clemens against us and picking up easy roughing the passer penalties. They were probably laughing about it all week and laughing about it in the post-game locker room, as they should be. And I'll get my final events off my chest before we turn to more bigger picture looking forward. Brandon Stevens, this contract, we hated it from day one. Week 1 was bad. Week 2, the lack of effort on the touchdown run, which every clip is out there and should be shared around. Wholly unacceptable and worthy of being benched. I don't care if Thomas isn't ready. He should be getting ready to play because I don't know how you get paid I do, but you get paid like that and just not even try. That guy looks like a disaster so far. It's been 2 games. Cisco, man, it's one play and I'm nitpicking, but there were some rumblings about this with him coming out of Jacksonville. We saw some of it in the preseason. The over pursuit, lazy missed tackle on the Elijah Moore touchdown, and then bluntly pretending to be hurt and throwing your helmet dramatically and then just jogging off the field. Dude, who are you kidding, man? Make a tackle. You're getting paid $10 million a year. Tackle Elijah Moore in a reverse. For God's sakes, have a little pride out there with the defense. And I do think overall, big picture, what the problem is defensively, if Sherwood and Michael Carter can't play in a non-Robert Saleh defense, this defense doesn't have enough talent to compete against most offenses. They don't look like they can play in this defense yet. It's a long season, but they look like not plus starters, not even league average starters right now. That's scary. Quinnen showed up today. Briggs and Phillips showed up today. So that part of the D-line was there, but very quiet Will McDonald game. And Sauce Gardner, great
bad
week
script
1.
for Will.
Bad script
for
Will.
The team's running out the clock in the second quarter. It's a bad script for Will.
Yeah, and then Sauce Gardner, great game week 1. Week 2, man. You get Michael Clemens do the one thing he's good for. He breaks Josh Allen's nose. You get Josh Allen off the field on 3rd and 8 when it's still, I think it was 10-0. And Mitch Trubisky beats Sauce Gardner to Josh Palmer, a guy both of us wanted the Jets to sign. And they certainly could have used today for a 32-yard gain. And then Sauce misses a sack on Josh Allen, which, of course, rightly gets clipped and shared all over the place. Drops an interception probably that he should have got on a deflection. Yeah. You're getting paid like he's getting paid, man. You got to make that sack. You got to intercept that pass, and you can't be getting beat by Mitch Trubisky who went right after you on 3rd down. Just not acceptable. Not good enough. So I got that all off my chest. Now, we have to maintain this perspective that in saying this would be like 2013 and even parts of 2006 and having a rookie staff, and so what happened in Detroit in Dan Campbell's rookie year, there's going to be weeks like this. And while you should not get too high from a week 1 performance of this guy looked amazing, this guy looked amazing, this guy looked amazing, same with week 2. They're each separate games. They're each worth 1 game. They carry equal value. This cycle will repeat itself again throughout the season multiple times, where the Jets play really well, we think, for a week or 2, and then they just look like dog shit for a week or 2 because they don't have the horses and they have a coaching staff that's going to be learning on the fly. Now, we want the coaching staff to get better on the field, in press conferences, get smarter, learn to adapt. We want to see them make personnel adjustments. There will be weeks they are outclassed like this, and there are still things that the Jets will be able to build on. You did make a great point, though. How you respond. Tampa's going to be coming off a short week, right? They're playing on Monday Night Football. They'll be 8.5, 9.5 point favorites. They're a team that's been in the playoffs consistently with Bowles and Baker. Same thing we said a lot of this week. How do you come out in that game? Are you going to go out and go 0-3 and get killed again? Like, is that really the kind of effort you're going to put forward? Or are you going to go down there and be right in the game like you were in the Pittsburgh game? And, if the Jets, again, if they go out, they lose 27-26 to Tampa on the road, that's one thing you cannot have happen again 2 weeks in a row because Tampa's not on the Buffalo level. Tampa's a good team. I don't think they're on that Buffalo stratosphere. That's what I'm interested to see. I hope that, as critical of Glenn as we will be today and will the rest of this week, that this is teaching tape for a rookie head coach. Rookie head coaches are going to have ugly weeks and ugly moments. And I even just think defensively, and then I'll shut up. Salah's defense, I'm going to the nearest turn example. Look at the 2021 Jets defense. Look at how bad they were while they were readjusting to this new system.
Oh, man.
And then
Patriots
look at what
game.
Eagles game, Saints game late in the year. Then look at what the defense looked like in 2022. I mentioned this in the Discord a few times. I think we could see a very similar thing this year where this defense is like outright bad at times. And then by the middle of next year, looks like a completely different unit. I'm not making that as an excuse. I'm not saying you want to follow Robert Saleh's trajectory outside of maybe when it comes to coaching a defense. But that is something I think to keep in mind overall. And we'll react to that. And then we'll close with some of the Fields Tyrod chatter because there is a chance Fields doesn't play next week coming out of the concussion protocol.
Yeah. So I think first off, this is a year where you never want to sugarcoat a blowout or an embarrassment. That's why we're being a little more harsh today than we will be a lot of weeks. Joe, what'd you pick them to win 8 this year?
Yeah, 8 and 9.
Yeah, and I picked them to win 7. So I'm not going to sit here and right. There's a lot of things that you just can't be
pre-AVT injury though. So maybe I would have went.
Yeah, but the line's not the problem.
I know the line's not the problem.
That's the line is not the issue right now. You're right. There's things that Glenn is going to have to learn on the job. Engstrand's going to learn on the job. I think the red flag to me right now is that Wilkes has been kind of bad for a while. Yeah. And the San Francisco year is so weird because you look at how their defense finished ranking wise and the fact that they went to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But he was still fired after that. They viewed it as that they underachieved because of him. And he was calling a lot of Kyle keeps the same defense in place there no matter who gets hired. And he was calling the PR was that he was, calling a defense that it wasn't his, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there might be a reason why. Wilkes, if this gets off the rails, Glenn is going to have to start taking over the defense again because this isn't a 2-week sample size with Wilkes, who, good football man, long football career. I tip my cap to him. The game gets by people sometimes. And there was a reason he wasn't in the NFL last year. And there's a reason why things didn't end well the last couple stops he's had in the last decade or half decade. So that's one where you don't really get the grace. They got to build something with Engstrand. They got to build something with Glenn. Glenn's going to learn game management things this year. Engstrand's going to learn game planning and flow of the game things this year and how to use certain talents and stuff. With Wilkes, it's a lot of money and picks invested in this defense, man, to look that helpless. I mean, seriously, to look that helpless. That's one where the leash is going to be people are going to rightfully criticize, and I think it's pretty fair. And Glenn, I think, said in the press conference that we have to look at some stuff with coaches. So that was something that I did appreciate. I think that's my big real concern with this team right now is it feels like it's not really going to work with Wilkes. It feels like Muji will get the benefit of the doubt for now because he was adjusting to the job, but he had a lot of big misses, it looks like, right now from the spring. And thank God he made the trades for Briggs and Harrison Phillips. That does help a lot. But the Stevens contract, if you didn't like it, we didn't like it, and it looks as bad as it looks 2 weeks into
You're not smarter than the Ravens. Remember that.
You're not smarter than the Ravens, and this isn't going to be some Cinderella story, I don't think. So it's just there's so many problems there. That's a big one for sure. Yeah, this team has holes, but I still think there's the Clemens thing. I find it inexplicable. It's actually
to talk about something as much as we've talked about with Gibson and Clemens, and then to watch it literally week 1 and week 2. I literally feel like the Joker meme that gets passed around.
It's embarrassing to the organization. I mean, there's no other way around. It's actually when you go suit him up for 30 plus snaps every week, you're embarrassing the entire organization because, and I saw a lot of responses that were that wasn't roughing. You don't have to agree, But if you are a football fan in this era of the NFL, they call that 100 out of 100 times. And I think people were saying because Allen snapped his head back, which he always does, and it's ridiculous that he does. But Allen didn't need to do that. He got hit. That's why it was called. Like if you hit the quarterback like that, you don't have to like it. Especially on Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Like in this league, on them, it's roughing, and they are telling good coaches tell their players do not do this. So also, Michael Clemens doesn't get the benefit of the doubt anymore on penalties.
He's not good.
The refs
like,
not
can't
good
play.
enough to be out there to overcome it. So it's not like a full panic meter. I think you hope this team competes against Tampa. You hope this team beats Miami on Monday Night Football. The schedule will lighten up. Yep. They're still gelling together. They're still learning these systems. But I think the thing you always want to say the things that you can fix without needing a whole summer training camp, you need to fix. And some of those things, like you really can't go get new safeties. Maybe you can get Malachi Moore ready for the second half of the season. You really can't go get wide receivers. Maybe you just throw Arian Smith into the fire a little bit more the second half of the season. But you can not put Clemens on the field, just like you're not putting Gibson on the field anymore. Like those are things that you can do. You can make schematic adjustments of why you are getting absolutely torched. It feels like 60% of the third downs. You can make schematic. Who needs help? Why are we doing this? Why are all our blitzes being picked up? And the one blitz that didn't get picked up was Sauce Gardner, and he didn't make the tackle. Well, Sauce isn't really your perfect player to tackle Josh Allen. Like, that's not a great matchup. So I'll leave it at that. I hated that this was a very negative podcast, but it's a blowout, and we had our couple hours to even blow off some steam.
Yes, that's why we wait a few hours.
I am expecting a much better effort, game plan, and performance against Tampa. The Jets will probably be touchdown underdogs again?
I think so. 7.5.
I don't
maybe.
I don't know if I'm brave enough to take them to cover, but I expect a much better effort and performance and bounce back. And some signs that, hey, we are learning some things along the way. But I'm just like, aren't you tired of getting clowned by division rivals?
Yes.
And the stadium is just a party for opposing fan bases over and over again. I am personally quite sick of that.
Yeah, I, of course, feel bad for the fans who went out today. Again, I was there week one. It was a good environment. I stand by it. It was a good environment. Yes, there were a lot of Steeler fans. You expect that, but it was loud. There were plenty of Jet fans there today. Yeah. You got to win games, man. And the Bills, again, they look at the Jets as a joke, as they should. And until the Jets do something about it, this is going to be the case. Now, we'll have to monitor it throughout the week. It seems like Fields went to the concussion protocol. I don't know if they're being overly cautious or like just wanted him out of that game. I would say there's at least a 50% chance Tyrod's going to start and play this week for a week or two. You never know with concussions, but I would guess the league and the Jets err on the side of caution. I would say in the vacuum of right now, does that like change the spread at all? Probably not between Tyrod and Fields. It's like garbage time with Tyrod. I worry again. Could he play more than one or two games? No, there's certain things you can't do with just Tyrod. There's certain things maybe you can do throwing the ball down the field that Fields can't.
The timing. Fields was late. Like that. They could have got some momentum before the half when
that miss to Davis was bad.
Miss to Davis. It looked like Davis had about 30 yards in front of him. Not when the ball was thrown inaccurately, but when he should have thrown the ball. Yeah. He probably could have got 30 yards up the field if the ball was on time. So, but once again, Fields' legs are a real weapon and a real problem. So I call it a wash at best. Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, we'll probably know by Thursday. I'm sure, knowing how the Jets have been handling this stuff, we might not even find out until game day, bluntly, who's starting.
You're probably right.
The competitive advantage. Again, for a spot starter, too, Tyrod is more than fine. And what would, of course, be very Jetsian would be Tyrod starts, he wins. And, of course, we have a quarterback controversy now going into Monday Night Football.
All right, we'll take that problem.
We'll take that problem. It's a first-world problem. I'll close with this. And, again, I don't want to sugarcoat it. The Jets sucked today. It was an embarrassing effort, and I'm disappointed in Aaron Glenn. I like Aaron Glenn. I still think he will work out here and be a good coach.
You want better from him.
New guys have bad days at the office sometimes. I think the simplest way to boil this down when we look at the end of the season and we look at week 1 and week 2 is that the Buffalo Bills are going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC at 14-3 and probably not lose a single game in the division. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be 7-10. And the Dolphins and the Patriots and the Jets are probably all going to win 6 or 7 games based on what I've seen through 2 weeks. So I say that because I think the Jets could steal some games from the Dolphins and Pats. I think the Jets could beat the Panthers and Saints and Browns, who are still on their schedule. So I'm sure a lot of responses to this, particularly on YouTube, are going to be Connor's saying the Jets are going to win 7 games. They're going to win 2 games. Where do you see a win on the schedule? I've seen the Panthers and Saints and Browns and Dolphins and Patriots play this year. The Bills are probably the best team in the league. The Bills are the Packers right now, I would say, through 2 weeks. The Eagles are right up there as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
The Bills are going to kill. Yes.
I mean, the Bills kind of needed a miracle to beat the Ravens, but they got it.
And look, we're going to have to, unfortunately, play the Ravens at some point, but the Jets, again, they don't play the Bills every week, right? And I will say, hopefully this regime learned, like, it sounds funny in a loss. Like, I think everyone was feeling themselves a little too much after that game and
that drives me nuts
and got their asses kicked. And you got to learn that lesson and not let that happen again. So post-game therapy off the chest. We'll be back. There'll be Jet Heads in the feed tomorrow. There'll be a TOJ pod. There'll be Flight Plan. And then we'll be back after we got to rewatch the game, after we got to rewatch the tape, after we have some more injury news. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll talk to you soon.